circle. The dear hearers. They may find the size of the water stillness.
That night when you were quite stretched to you, Dan.
I did, but that's it gets warm after it's
Listening to my mind complain about sitting down not doing anything. It's always a delight. I can barely wait.
You're right, Dan, we're an easy crowd.
No, you're going to do having we're going to watch Regi and Dan's wedding video. We're going to look at all the pictures tonight.
Yeah, right. Sure. But I was there, I don't need to watch it. No.
It really feels good to meditate with you. I'm sure that some of you have noticed that when you meditate by yourself and you meditate in a group, the group seems to be deeper or more quiet, whatever word you like to apply. But there's some cohesiveness and almost a solidity when you meditate with a like group of meditators. In this particular group, since we've been meditating together for some cases years now, our vibrations are really in sync with each other, and the distance doesn't make any difference wherever we're at, Europe or America. We're in sync with each other, and so we can just begin a meditation in a sort of a meditation is good for you. Speaking just in terms of this world, it's good for you to take that time once or twice a day. Twice if you can, once or twice a day to just sit with your eyes closed and not do anything. It's not to get any place. It's not to become more spiritual or more advanced. Just by itself, it's very conducive to our lives. One needn't be concerned with the thoughts that are going through or what you have to do for today or those sort of things. You just sit there as you do. That's the discipline of meditation. I'm going to sit down here for half an hour, 20 minutes. I would recommend not less than 20 minutes, but 20 minutes to half an hour. I'm just going to sit here, and regardless of what happens, I'm just going to sit here with my eyes closed, quietly. You may have had a recent death in the family, for instance, where you're grieving or you're very upset, and yet you do that. That's why it's a discipline in the sense of I'm going to do it every day at this time. Of course, at quiet time, that's when most of us get together, those of us who can. And if you can't get together at quiet time, then I certainly recommend that you carve some time out, some other place in your schedule. In this life, it pays off big dividends. And it's a cumulative process. The longer you do it, when I first took it up as a regular practice in 1975, I believe it was. I've often looked back, and I've spoken before, it was probably the best gift that I ever gave to myself. Cars go by on the road, and just let everything be as it is. If it's thundering and raining outside, you just let that be. Dogs bark, horns honk. Perhaps your neighbors next door may be having an argument. Just sit there. That's why that statue of Buddha, such as we have in our front yard, is a very nice one. far as I can remember, I've always had that image of Buddha in my house somewhere or in my yard. Not because I'm a Buddhist, which I'm not. It's just a nice pose. A complete repose in spite of what's going on around the world, or around your world. I was also reminded how good it is to breathe the air up here is when you're here when you sort of think of it, take a deep breath. Because as you can see and know it, there's nothing but air. There's no pollution of any sort. And of course we're at 3,500 feet elevation, so we're pretty high up. So we come to gatherings not only to sort of renew or recharge our batteries, but sort of cleanse ourselves. As we just do whatever we do. It's nice. I was thinking this morning as I was sitting there eating my breakfast food, and the chatter was going on, and people were talking about this, that, and the other thing. Children are making some noises. It's really nice. It was warm. Felt warm. Felt like family. It would be a blessing. It's a blessing for this land. This land gives and receives. There's purity here. The purity in the water, the air, the animals. There's peacefulness. As you can see, the animals. Of course, we keep the fence up so the deer don't get in here. And I would request that if you open any of the gates, that you close them again. Because if a deer gets in here, they don't know how to get out, and they just race around. They'll jump in the pool and all sorts of things. So. And if you don't remember, then if someone sees the gate open, just go over and close it. Because, of course, we watch out for the animals, too. One of my favorite paintings, I'm sure you're familiar with, is that one called Peaceable Kingdom. I think it's a portrayal. I believe it may be a portrayal supposedly of Jesus as a child, but in any event it's the animals are sort of commingling with each other. We are too animals in that sense. So we come out here all together. Kaye and I sort of keep the home fires burning for you. So when you come through that gate, I remember when Joni used to come through the gate, Joni always used to bow, stop her car and go like that. Of course that's not necessary, that was just what she did. But I think it was nice. Like I say, not that I'm saying people should do that. I'm just saying that was the spirit. Because this is Mu. This is our home. Collectively, our home. What better blessing could one person have than to have family, spiritual family, come and spend time in any way they care to, relax, talk together, enjoy terrible Terry and the Travelers, Go up the mountain today. To the beautiful crystal lakes. You all have your rocks, I presume. If you shouldn't, well, you can see me and I'll chew your ass out big time, but I might see my weight. Conjure up another one for you. So that's how there are little rocks and things, that's how we carry each other along with each other, like you leave here and you go back to your temporary home, and you've got a piece of this. It's like when one goes to Arunachala in India, sometimes we take a little stone with us back again. And then there's a sort of reminds me, I think out in Sedona, Arizona, which is supposedly, I say supposedly, a place where a vortex comes, and that if you meditate in Sedona on a certain rock, you're supposed to sort of be elevated. But off of this particular rock, there used to be signs, I don't know if there are any more, it says, don't you dare take any stones away from here or you'll be cursed. They actually have a legend like that in Hawaii too, on the Big Island, where the volcano is. That if you take one of those stones, those cinders from the volcano, and you go across a certain bridge, that's bad luck. And of course they have all kinds of stories, like people going across the bridge with a stone and then getting a flat tire and on and on and on. But that comes from selfishness. Give me that book you got. Kaye has this book by Ramesh Balsekar. Most of you are familiar with it. It's called Net of Jewels, or the Net of Jewels. This here particular book. It's a book. It's similar to Heart Whispers, but it's. I've gone through this about 3 or 4 times, not because there's anything that I'm particularly getting from it, but it's a bunch of little sayings, and I used to, in the morning when I would meditate, I would read one of these little sayings, and I think I even went through a year with quiet time of reading one of these things to all of us. And so at the beginning of this year, I gave it to Kaye, and I says, Kaye, quiet time, before quiet time, since she's gone through Heart Whispers a couple of times. This is very similar, so just pick out a little saying and read it. You don't have to think about it, just read it and go about your day. So I was just kind of curious as to what it said for today. What is the day?
Well, I'm late. I'm behind, so I'm
okay,
doing
so
twice
today
a
is
day.
so you're on the 4th.
I'm on the 3rd.
And it's the 7th today. You never know what you're going to get. Anyway. So the one for today says, the sage lives in a sense of equanimity, so constant that he is impervious to pleasure or pain, gain or loss, praise or criticism. He is so vacant of volition that for him there is nothing to be done or not to be done. Yeah, that's so, but Ramesh is writing from only one side of the equation when he says that. This doesn't actually, that particular saying, read by the average citizen, can be misleading, because that, if one takes this as it says, the sage lives in a sense of equanimity so constant that he is impervious to pleasure or pain, gain or loss, praise or criticism. He is so vacant of volition that for him there is nothing to be done or not to be done. That would lead one to think that that's the way I got to get to be. That, that's my goal. I have to somehow be impervious to pleasure or pain. I understand what Ramesh is saying from his point of view here, so I don't want to criticize him because I think he's a good man. But that can be misleading. Your goal is not to be impervious to pleasure or pain. You can't, obviously. That's where we go off the track, trying to somehow, kind of walk through life like I'm not bothered. I just had a flat tire and I don't care. My dog died and who cares about it? I just won $1 million, so come on. On the other hand, where he's writing from, that's so. That's so. See, and the mind can't make that leap because you sit there and say, okay, fine. So pleasure and pain seems to be a given. And you also read in a lot of spiritual books, it says, give up desire. Well, what is that? That's a desire, is it not? So, how do you make the leap from this here life that we're living, which includes joys and sorrows, to this equanimity of no pain and nothing to be done or not to be done? How do I get there? You don't get there. You don't get there. Give it up. Give it up. That's a fool's journey. And yet, authentic teachers are beings who have transcended the humanity, the humanness of themselves. It could be for just a split second, or it could be perhaps longer. Such that when you're in their presence, you get it, but you don't get it mentally. It's like it's like they are a lighter. No, scratch that. It's like they blow on your flame. It's not that you don't have it. It's not that they're any different than you are, because they're not. This is where it gets a little fuzzy. We all have that flame of awareness, and all of the teacher does in many different ways is go. And so and then it may, grow a little bit, and then the mind gets involved and says, now I got it. And so the teacher, having been there, and has been through this sort of disengagement of the physical, and then whoa, I think I get it. See, because the mind is the one that gets it, and so when the mind gets it, it then just exponentially multiplies what it gets. Oh, I see, that's what it is, and that's that, and it just keeps going off this wrong trail. So the teacher sort of grabs it and pulls it back down again, and sometimes brutally, as far as the ego is concerned, because the teacher may say, you really are a dumb shit. Well, who likes to hear that? And so often people, because they just can't stand the pain. Because no matter how much one reads about suffering and just being with the suffering or being with the pain and agreeing with that, yeah, I can see to be with the pain, that's the idea, and as soon as, well, to hell with you, bang, they're gone. Because being with the pain is nothing more than a mental concept. So often, being in the company of a teacher, they, figuratively speaking, hold you in place. Now, they hold you in place in many different ways. Sometimes they just hold you in place because you love each other. In other words, you have such a deep relationship with the teacher that you just can't imagine not having this person, this man or woman in your life. Other times, you're almost intimidated into it. I mean, I'd look like a fool if I left now. Mm-hmm. See, so one of the bywords of a teacher is whatever gets them in the door, whatever helps them. Even if it's a slap in the face, figuratively speaking. Even if it's a slap in the face or a blow to the ego. If that's what will do it for this particular person, then you do that, because you're not concerned with how you look. You're going to look great, and you're going to look bad, you're going to look like a charlatan, you're going to look like a saint. It's going to be all over, because that's the way the ego sees things. But if you hang in there, there's a certain point in time when, after the teacher blows it up, goes down, blows it up, goes down, blows it up, goes down. It's a certain point. And that's kind of it. Without it being an it. One could then basically say goodbye. You're your own fuel. Yes, you still have joys and sorrows, you still stub your toe, you still have loved ones die. And yet it is as it is. It is as it is. I was speaking with Kaye the other day about something or another. She was a little distraught about something. And I could see it had to do with where she was taking a choice. She was trying to choose one way or the other. And, I was saying in so many ways, you don't have any control over any of this. You're not in any control of any of it. And there was a sort of a pull on her, I could see, that she was still saying, yes, I can control this. I can choose to do this, all this. I said, okay. So I was looking for an example that she would really get. And I said, of all the things that have happened in the last year, one thing, if you could choose, if you could say no and make it happen, you would not let Charlie die. But he did. And if you could choose and you had control over something, then you would have him come back again. But Charlie's gone. And no matter how much you would have wished that he did or didn't die because he was like our kid, he did. But in that, there's a sense of peace. There is a sense of peace. That when our parents or our good friends or our pets are in pain or they die, we certainly don't want that to happen. Particularly those we're so close to, like our children sometimes, our pets or our parents. And yet, one can see the peace in that. So in that sense, that's what Ramesh is pointing to. I would agree more with the second stanza he has for today, for the general public, and that is, True understanding comes about only after ignorance in the form of all conceptual knowledge is given up. That's easier, I think, for the average citizen to understand. Not given up like thrown away, because we need conceptual knowledge. Actually, we don't need it. We have conceptual knowledge. I know how to drive a car. Conceptual knowledge. Okay. See if you can keep up, Mrs. Austin. I'll give you a break, though. You're being a little disrupted here for the last couple of days.
I read it at quiet time. We haven't had quiet time.
Yeah, I know,
since-
and she does. She reads it at quiet time, because I can see her through the slats there sometimes. Metering away. You don't really need any more knowledge or any more wonder or any more books to read. I think there's one little verse that kind of says it all. The sense of wonder. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. How I wonder where you are. Up above the clouds. That's kind of a nice little verse. It's kind of a mystical, wonderful, simple, in my opinion, much better than here's a diagram. Here, let's see, here's awareness, here's heaven, here's point B and point C. Now remember all of this and come to class tomorrow and you'll be closer to enlightenment. Remember now, get your mind activated. Your mind will lead you home. Don't forget this here, this circle, this diagram here. That would, don't forget now, because I'm going to question it tomorrow and we'll see how close you are to enlightenment as opposed to twinkle, twinkle. Well, Tara, you ready? You ready to go tear them up?
Guys are rolling it.
Let me see. Now you're down to 3 intrepid travelers.
Yep.
I'll tell you, there's this. Who was the other bold ones? You and Wing and
Wing.
and
And
Rod.
Rodski.
Yeah.
You got your sandwich. You got stuff with you now. Got your drinks and stuff. Be sure
yeah,
and take them.
Yeah, we're covered.
Okay. And Rebecca was mentioning that she brought a CD with her with some pictures that she hasn't been able to share yet. So I said, well, maybe tonight after supper we'll, not dinner. After supper we'll,
You're making this up.
like we did last night with that movie, which I really enjoyed a lot. I thought that woman was really good. With the Jenny. It was like someone looked over my shoulder, because as most of you know, I had the same thing with my daughter. I had to go looking for her. I didn't know where she was. And my ex-wife, and although this guy apparently wasn't married to the woman, and when they had their affairs, it was a little too close to comfort. I was thinking, who's looking over my